Well, hello YouTube. Here we are with a little bit of a, well, fix-it video. Well, I find myself in a little bit of a dilemma, of course. I went to go drive the old Silverado today, and well, this is what I find. Of course, you probably notice it by now, but if you don't, here's a close-up shot. Well, as you see here, that tire is basically flat. Either that or the other three have suddenly inflated themselves. So basically, this vehicle's probably sat for about a week, and I believe last time I drove it was when I had some running around to do, and it sat over the weekend and throughout the work week. Well, I go to drive her now and it's flat. So of course that tells me that of course it wasn't a big hole like a cut or a slash or somebody letting the air out of the tire or something like that. It tells me that it was probably a glass cut, like a nail or a screw or something. Given the way this town is, it doesn't surprise me. Now, if somebody were to have let the air out of my tire, they went through great pains to of course put the valve cap back on the valve stem. So therefore that leads to believe me that it was not touched, as well as you can see there, the cap is still muddy. So if someone were to have touched it, then the mud would have at least been knocked off, if not the cap thrown on the ground. So of course, like a lot of vehicles nowadays, they have these plastic fake hubcaps that are held on with those little plastic nuts. So of course, don't put your tire wrench on them expecting the wheel to come off, because it won't. So essentially I'm going to have to undo 12 lug nuts to get this one rim or tire assembly off the truck. So pretty much, guys, what I'm going to do is grab my tools, grab the old jack, grab a jack stand too, and we will spin this cap off, spin the nuts off, and well, take it on down to the tire shop. Okay guys, so here we go. Rather than taking the lug wrench or the socket wrench or even the impact to spin these off, I'm going to take my wonderful rigid drill here, and with the nut driver adapter and a socket, then we can, well, spin them on off. I noticed that in probably the early 90s, mid to late 90s, pretty much all the vehicles started coming out with these plastic hubcaps held on with this little plastic fake lug nuts, if you will. Pretty much, that's what you're left with when you're done. A plastic cap with plastic lug nuts. And onto the wheel here, as you see, you have the gold lug nuts, as well as there's a thread here on the outside of the nut, which corresponds with the thread on the inside of the plastic nut, which basically spins on. Okay guys, so there we go. We got the truck all jacked up in the air. Of course, the tire's off the ground. Now, unfortunately, I don't have an air-powered impact gun or wrench or whatever you want to call her to remove this tire. So I'll do my old standby, which is the electric impact. Pretty much like that. I know it's kind of loud, kind of awkward, and well, kind of discouraging to have to use an electric tool when you have an air compressor and all that, but keep in mind that impact gun was bought I don't know, probably getting on to be a good 6-7 years ago now, before I even had an air compressor. And well, Obviously, it was bought on sale, it was cheap, and well, away she goes. Of course, as time progresses, we will invest in better tools, upgrade the tool crib, and well, take it all from there. So let's roll this off the truck, and well, now would be a good time to inspect, you know, your brakes, your rotor, check the brake lines in the immediate area for any leaks, anything that might give you trouble, right? Okay guys, so after of course getting it off the old truck there, I did an inspection on the tire. I checked out the tread face all the way around, checked out the sidewall both inside and out, and I can't see any obvious signs of a puncture or, you know, anything sticking out of it, you know, like a screw, a nail, piece of glass, you know, severed finger, whatever is right. So of course that can lead you to believe one of, you know, 2-3 things. That A, whatever you hit pretty much punctured it and went back out. Or 2, it could be a bead leak, you know, pretty much where the rim has corrosion in it and basically starts to not hold air and allow it to escape, right? Or 3, if you've been out 4x4ing, which I have not in this truck, sometimes you can get mud or leaves or twigs or anything jammed up in between the tire and the bead. Usually in that case it does go flat, you know, more sooner than a week. So basically, I guess away she goes down to the tire shop. But first, with a jack stand underneath the axle, we'll let our jack down. When you're doing this, you always want to make sure your vehicle is secure. Keep in mind, you know, you were virtually under it. If you were just using a floor jack or a jack-all or your, you know, your kid's play set or whatever to jack your vehicle up with, you know, it could shift, could give away, and at that time it could fall, land on you, cause damage to the vehicle, even fall sideways and hit the vehicle next to it, right? So of course, with the jack stand under her, let's let her on down. So now being on the jack stand there, it is on gravel, but if it was on a concrete surface like a garage floor or a concrete driveway, then I'd be for sure to say that it's 110% safe and secure. But of course, being it's on gravel, gravel does shift. If it's on dirt, your jack stand could completely sink into the dirt with the weight of the truck. And of course at that time then you have to find a new way of jacking it back up. But guys, tires off the Silverado here, and of course in the back of the Canyon. So yeah, away we go. Well guys, here we are now, pretty much back at her, and the next day of course. Just got the tire back from the tire shop. As you see, she's full of air now. They found a little piece of metal in the tread face. So of course it wasn't a nail, it wasn't a screw, it wasn't the valve core, or it wasn't the most frustrating one, bead leak. It was actually something that caused it. So I'm not sure if this camera is going to pick it all up here, but it says loose tire repair, and of course it has the date. Then it has piece of metal found inside. And of course they used what they call a 1/4-inch quill seal repair. And with the shop supplies, GST, and all that good stuff, she comes out to $24.15. So, of course, I'm pretty much going to grab the jack, grab the wrench, get all set up here, and well, let's change this a tire. So guys, pretty much roll the tire up next to the vehicle. Roughly line up the, you know, the stud holes in the rim with the holes, of course, on the hub or axle or whatever you want to call her of the vehicle trailer, whatever you're working on. Basically, you lift the whole tire rim assembly up, pop it right there on the old studs, and of course, it's a bit of a balancing act. But get her up there, slap a couple of wheel nuts on it to hold it from falling off. Sometimes they do like to jump off right away. Then of course, make sure you're centered in here. Some wheels have a tiny little lip along here that basically is what holds the rim in place from kind of dancing on the studs. So make sure that's all lined up and good. And basically spin on all of your nuts. And then you're good to go to start with whatever type of wrench you choose to use. So once that's done, we'll drop it back on the ground, and then of course pull the jack out from under it, and we'll get out our torque wrench and give these a final torque to spec. That would help ensure that the wheel nuts won't back themselves off. So now the wheel's on the ground, we'll take our torque wrench and give them a final tightening. So pretty much torquing your wheels to spec, basically what that helps to prevent is the wheel nuts from backing off. When your wheel nuts back off, the nut itself will physically basically fall off the stud, the lug itself. And when that happens, well obviously you lose the nut. On its way out, what it'll do is it'll strip the threads on the stud itself. So of course when you go to put another nut back on, consider yourself very, very lucky if you don't have to replace the stud. I've had that happen twice now in my personal experience. Of course, that was in a time before I had a torque wrench, and after that I bought a torque wrench and I haven't had an issue since. So of course the final step here is to put on the center cap. And again, of course, it's got that fancy center cap with the nuts. So of course you don't have to super tighten them or torque them, of course. They are not wheel nuts. All these plastic nuts do is basically hold on the center cap, basically from falling off. So, well, now she's on, now she's good. We'll do ourselves a cleanup and, well, then we're golden. Of course, guys, this was by no means an instruction video. This is just how I did my tire change or flat tire repair. If you're not sure how to do it, please consult a professional. If you're not sure if you can do it, then don't do it. For a matter of just a few dollars, you can take your vehicle down to the nearest tire shop and have them do it safely, quickly, and basically all you have to do is pay it and not have to worry about the hassle. So as always, thanks for watching Maxwell's World. Comment, subscribe, and enjoy.